Hello everybody, welcome back to a brand new episode of our iRacing NASCAR career mode here on the channel. Part 38 if I'm not mistaken, but the beginning of Season 2. We had the clash in the last episode where we started our Trackhouse Racing career now as we move on from Wood Brothers Racing for this brand new season, as we unfortunately failed to get them their 100th win in their career. You can see practice already underway here in Daytona. There's Jay Cook in that Mopar Dodge Charger. Of course, Dodge making their debut in the return of the NASCAR Cup Series after 10 years away from the sport here today in this Daytona 500. And Justin Marks took a big opportunity or a big chance on bringing us over to Trackhouse Racing for a third full-time car expansion. We never won in the 21, but we made the playoffs, which is something the team has never done since Brian Blaney left the team. So that was, of course, big. Actually, no, I think Matt DiBenedetto might have made the playoffs once, but correct me if I'm wrong. I might be completely inaccurate on that, but I was out getting some laps in this NZXT Chevrolet Camaro, this number 98 Trackhouse machine. Now, working with our teammates is going to be basically impossible here today. The AI at plate racing is, well, it's just not very fun in iRacing. That's not the right word to use. It's kind of stupid is really the right word to use. It's not accurate. It's 3x3x3x3 the whole way, and positions are shuffling like crazy. So that's really all you're going to see now. So you're going to see like all the cuts I do, the positions are going to be changed up completely just because of how quickly things change. If I was to keep up with it, for it to make more sense, it'd be like an hour-long video. But nonetheless, yeah, I was pretty happy with how the car drove in practice now. There wasn't much to do. I was pushing the 41 of Ryan Preece, and then I would bring it back to the pit lane. Now, unfortunately, I don't know, I think it might be a bug with iRacing AI with the newest update. I'm not sure, but for whatever reason, the qualifying session just would not show up, so I couldn't qualify. Nobody could qualify, so we were going to basically have a random starting grid, and I would be starting P26, so I don't know what it is. I tried restarting like 3 or 4 times, and I couldn't get qualifying to come up, even though I had it turned on. So it is what it is. Let's go into the Daytona 500.
Runs on top. Oh, teammates.
Around they go in a hard crash. Kyle Busch. Hamlin at second. Up
Watch the
high.
inside. Watch the inside. Mark Truex Jr. 3 wide.
Checkered flag waving. It's over. It's Earnhardt. Unbelievable. Here comes Hamlin up the outside. Crash into the wall, into the air. Goes Newman.
Harvick and Haley move to the inside line. What's happening here? There's a car slow. There's a big accident in the background. Up and over goes Hamlin. Elliott wins the Daytona 500 for the
This is the finish of the Daytona 500. Side by side, bouncing off each other.
Unbelievable.
All right, there you have it. We're ready to go racing here in Daytona, and we have some quick radio chatter with our team owner.
All right, Gary, welcome to Trackhouse, and good luck out there today. Stay safe.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Justin, for taking this chance on me. I'll do my best to not let you down.
Alright guys, it's the 500. We'll start the year off strong.
We're ready to roll here. As you can see, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. on pole position there, and like I said, I don't know what it is. I couldn't get the qualifying to work. I think it's something weird with the new update, because yeah, it was non-existent no matter what settings I did and changed. You see the 95 didn't load at the start of the replay. That does get fixed very, very quickly here. We're ready to roll. The pace car is off. The lap count, 65 laps here. Now I've made it very simple as this Daytona 500 gets underway for stages as well. Stage 1 comes to a conclusion at the end of lap 15. Stage 2 will come to a conclusion at the end of lap 35. Saw in the pre-race introduction there, we of course had a bit of a clip of our own iRacing career mode Daytona 500 last season with the real clips of the Daytona 500 in the past, of course with historic or iconic moments, and we saw that moment with Cole Custer that puts him out of the Cup Series basically for this remainder of last season and this season as well. He's still not back for the most part. He will be doing some races again at some point, but he of course caused that huge crash on the final lap of the 500 by not getting out of the way of the pack, where we saw Chase Elliott win the season 1 500. Immediately you're seeing the positions go back and forth already. This is a very common thing with the iRacing AI in Daytona, Talladega, probably Atlanta. Don't quote me on Atlanta, but for sure Daytona, Talladega. The lanes, they shift back and forth so quickly. I can tell you the one lane you do not want to be on though is the one to the left of me, the inside. That is the last lane you want to be in all day long. If you're down there, you are going backwards. What you're going to see is basically AI will move forward in the middle lane, but especially the top lane, the third lane that currently is going backwards, surprisingly, with William and Byron, but that's the lane that seems to go the best. But as soon as someone drops down to the inside, they just go backwards, so it's very weird on how it works. So you're going to continuously see a lot of cars in the inside because the AI like to migrate down there, but of course they'll just go backwards. They do have moments where the two outside lanes will get stalled out, but about 90% of the race the inside isn't doing anything, so you're not going to see me down there a whole lot. Now, they did say Daytona, Talladega had been updated with the AI in the last update, so at the moment of this current race on lap 4, I hadn't really known much about the inside lane yet, so I'm all talking about this from, post-race experience here. You see the 59, Josh Berry, so of course, Dodge comes into the Cup Series now as we're headed to the front. Josh Berry in their lineup in the 59 Havoline Charger, as well as Jay Cook in his second sophomore season here. He picked up a win for Colleague Racing at the Charlotte Roval last season when that race ended under caution, actually, after Tyler Reddick pitted from the lead as well. That's the only reason Cook ended up getting the win. So he was a rookie winner. We are not a rookie winner. Of course, we have a couple notable rookies in the field this season. Ty Gibbs as well as Noah Gregson, the two main drivers we're going to be paying attention to. And on top of that, the schedule, if you guys are wondering about that, is completely accurate to the 2023 schedule in real life, as this is the 2023 season with a few changes. Of course, like Dodge with Cook and Barry, as well in the 10, it is Todd Gilliland as Eric Almirola, of course, hung up the helmet, and in the number 38, it's Zane Smith because of Todd Gilliland moving over there. Aside from that, there's no changes at all here, as everything else is pretty consistent with the real-life roster, and like I said, schedule as well. The only schedule difference is we don't have Bristol Dirt AI, so the first Bristol Dirt race is just a Bristol paved race. A good start to this race, so the goal is to keep it clean. We kept it clean right to the last lap, basically. Last season in the 500, then chaos took off on the exit of turn 4. So hoping that we can just stay clean and make it to the end of this race and have a shot to, well, win the Daytona 500 here. Keep in mind, stage 1 concludes at the end of the 15th lap, and we're already closing in towards the end of lap 15. Cindric to the point now. Daniel Suarez, my Trackhouse teammate, of course. Suarez, Chastain, my two teammates. We kicked off the clash in the last episode, and yet that exhibition race out in the LA Coliseum with a bit of a clash, you could call it, with our teammate of Ross Chastain, who punted me in the first 5 laps of the race, got me out of the way, said see you later, and then, of course, I had a disastrous clash. It was pretty embarrassing there, running into the back of part-time driver Jimmy Johnson in that number 84 Legacy Motor Club car there, nearly wrecking him, but we would end up pushing him to the front instead here. And like I said, that third lane, exactly where you want to be. That is where the momentum is, where the speed is, so stay up here at all costs was kind of the goal later in the race when I kind of understood how it was working. Only 2 to go, sorry, in stage 1, lap 14 to 15, and we go to the lead, but it wouldn't last long because look at me looking in the mirror at this point. We got a Dodge, a Toyota, and a Chevy. We're just missing a Ford up here, but I go block the 23 of Bubba Wallace, and unfortunately that allows Josh Berry to go forward, and then I actually get bailed out on by Bubba, who stays up on the outside, so now it gets split 3 wide. We get down to the inside, but then I say, you know what, I don't want to be on the inside, so I stay in the middle here after we went so far back earlier on the inside, working our way back up. I couldn't go back down there. We're here leading the middle lane on the final lap of stage 1 already, splitting the middle between Hamlin, the 2016 19 and 20 winner of this race, Stenhouse, the real life 2023 winner, obviously not a 500 winner in this storyline. As we come through the exit of turn 2 down the SPAC straightaway, can Dodge win the first stage of their re-debut in the Cup Series? Doesn't look like it. A big push coming to the back of the 16 of AJ Allmendinger, who's now in that Colleague Chevrolet. We nearly wrecked him down the SPAC straightaway. I backed out of it there trying to make sure I didn't clean him out, and that completely destroys my momentum, and we are going to fall out of stage points. Up front, it's a battle for the win in the stage. It's Stenhouse who started on pole, and the rookie of Ty Gibbs heading down this front straightaway with help from the driver, of course, that drove his car last season to the line. Ty Gibbs wins stage 1 in his first stage of full-time Cup Series racing. What a drive right there from the Monster Energy 54 Joe Gibbs, rookie of Gibbs. Now keep in mind as well, in NASCAR in 2023 there is no more top 30 rule. If you're 38th in points and you're full-time, you win, you're in the playoffs here. Now we had a couple surprise winners last season that didn't make the playoffs because they weren't in the top 30, such as BJ McLeod, who won at Talladega. Now everybody pitted except for 2 drivers, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., stayed out on track, and so did the 84 of Jimmy Johnson. So they are confident here. It is pretty close. We have a full fuel tank, so we can actually we're right on the fine line of being able to make it on fuel from this point already, so you don't actually have to pit at the end of stage 2 if you don't want to. You'll just have to go into a little bit of fuel saving measures for sure. I, no matter what, am gonna pit. I did make some adjustments as well. Tightened up the car just a little bit here because I was feeling pretty loose on the exit of some of the corners now, but we're back underway for the start of stage 2, and it's Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Jimmy Johnson getting down to the inside. It was a pretty rough start from Kyle Busch on the 3rd position there on the inside, so that allowed Johnson to jump down in front of him. Kyle Larson, the defending champion, of course, if you think back to last season, which was so long ago, like 2 months at this point. It's taken me a while to get this series back up and running, but we finally got it going. But Kyle Larson was able to win the championship in 2021 in real life, and then, well, go into the 2022 season for iRacing Career Mode and win it again. If you guys remember last season as well in the iRacing Career Mode, before Davis Warren jumped on and helped me out with some collections, we had so many issues with getting all paint schemes to load in iRacing, and it was such an annoying thing to deal with every race, and I'm convinced now that that's a hardware issue, because since I've gotten my new PC, which will be linked down below in the description, it's an NZXT Creator Pro PC. It's a very hefty PC on the hardware. It's got a 4090 that I'm running in it, and I have had zero issues loading AI paint schemes since I've gotten this PC, so I'm pretty much convinced at this point that it is hardware based for loading paint schemes for whatever reason. I'm probably completely wrong. Very much so. But as well, you notice how much the frame rate is better now, and previously I played tracks when you had a pack of 40 cars, my frames would go literally below 20 frames per second. Now they were dipping down on the low end to about 40, because no matter how good of a graphics card you have, iRacing AI is extremely strenuous for whatever reason. I don't know why, it just is. So it doesn't matter what you have, it's going to pull hard on your hardware of your PC. So I'm on a very high-end PC, thankfully, very fortunate, of course, as we continue on here side by side with that Napa Auto Parts Chevrolet of Chase Elliott, the defending winner of this race. I got help from Dodge's debut, of course. We got Jay Cook behind us, as well Josh Berry not far back either, as we continue on lap 23. Stage 2 ends at the end of lap 35. We did not pick up any stage points there in stage 1. Can we do that here in stage 2? As now I'm 3 wide in the middle, leading this middle lane. Ryan Preece on the outside, Chase Elliott on the inside. Preece is going to go from the lead to the bottom, which means it's going to go backwards. But this is his first time season full time in that number 41. And then I actually had to pause because a Pure Later truck showed up at my door, and I went and got a package actually, so had to deal with that real quick. But then we got back into it. So we got back racing here on this 25th lap here. Now I was up on the outside. I had the 38 of Zane Smith tucked in behind me. So obviously, like I said, that's Todd Gilliland in real life for the majority of the season, but because of Gilliland moving to the 10 to replace Eric Almirola in this storyline, Zane Smith will be full-time in that 38 for this career mode. Another thing, if you're wondering, why am I doing 2 NASCAR career modes? One NASCAR Heat 5, one iRacing, and it's quite simple. From my explanation is Heat 5 and iRacing have 2 completely different demographics, 2 completely different viewer bases. So people that play iRacing usually absolutely hate Heat 5, and people that play Heat 5 don't want to play iRacing either. I myself like to play both. I respect both and actually thoroughly enjoy both. Well, I enjoy iRacing on the single player aspect, I should say. The multiplayer, it's too sweaty and far too toxic for me, but usually I just mute the voice chat anyways anymore if I'm online. But now I only do league racing, in the core is the only time I'm online in iRacing. But yeah, you can see myself here actually into the back of the 48. A little bit of contact between him and the 19 of Truex. I got him a little bit unsettled, nearly causing an accident. But in these closing 5 laps of the stage, and I talked about it earlier, you're going to see the positions shuffle so much from this point and all the way to the end of this race as well. So it's really hard to kind of keep up with everything that was happening, because everything just kind of happens so quick here. But back to the outside, 3rd lane again. We're running about 14th place with Kyle Larson behind me in that HendrickCars.com Chevrolet, as I'm behind my former car, the 21 of Harrison Burton. I bet that car will have a cleaner run this season. I wrecked a lot in that 21 car, but we had a lot of speed in the 21 car, which is exactly why Justin Marks brought us over. He said, yeah, I wrecked the car a lot, but I showed a lot of promise in the pace that I had, and that's the only reason we're here. Because if I was here because of my track record of damaging the car, I would probably have not gotten the ride at Trackhouse Racing. So the goal this season is to turn that speed into more cleanliness on the track and turn it into wins, because like I said earlier, we went our whole rookie season winless in iRacing career mode, which was a little bit frustrating. We've had a couple opportunities. Gateway is the big one I think about. That was the end of stage 2 right there, by the way, as it was AJ Omendinger actually winning the stage. We ended up in P6. Now the pit lane was interesting. I told you guys at the end of stage 1, everybody could make it if they pitted. So Johnson and Stenhouse, they can't make it there. A little bit of confusion for Blaney coming into the pit box, and for me, I completely missed my pit box right there, so I have to throw it in reverse. We're going to lose some track position for that, but a lot of cars stayed out, and that is going to put them at risk of running out of fuel. It's going to be right on a fine line towards the end of this race, as I also made a big error in the pit lane that I didn't know about, and I'll talk about it shortly. But now watch Ryan Blaney. So he's trying to get into his pit box, turns into Kyle Busch, turns into Stenhouse, completely misses his box. Right there, he's beside it now. He stops, he gets back going. Other cars stopping, saying, what the heck is this guy doing? So he is going to have to come back to the pits. We were starting stage 3, and look, Ryan Blaney is pulling to the left. He is headed into the pit lane as we're going to the green flag. Not sure what exactly he's doing that for. He could stay out and probably still make it to the end of this race because he pitted at the end of stage 1. But we're back underway for stage 3 here in the Daytona 500 for season 2. And we've had no accidents yet. Usually we don't have accidents at plate tracks, Daytona, Talladega, because although they are crazy 3x3x3x3, they are all just on rails and they just don't make mistakes, which is not very authentic, obviously. But you know what? I'm thinking we're going to bring Amped back for some points throughout the season. Let's go Amped here in Season 2 Daytona 500. Well, there you have Amped. If you enjoy it or not, Daniel Suarez during that segment loses the draft. So that's going to be 2 cars on the field or on the track that don't have no connection to the pack. Ryan Blaney as well as Daniel Suarez. So very unfortunate for Suarez. Ryan Blaney, he would actually end up getting collected in the pack at some point here and really wouldn't cause much issue. Now let's talk about the catastrophic error potentially that I have made in the pit lane. We'll really have to wait and see as we still have 25 laps to go in this race. But in the pit lane, I forgot. So this car now in iRacing has an option called auto fuel, and what it will do is it will automatically fuel your car, but it will fuel the car basically to the bare minimum. So you can choose the margin you want, and the default setting is it will give you 1 extra lap of fuel to make it, well, quite simply, 1 extra lap to the end of the race. So if it's a 60 lap race and you start the race and you had 1 extra lap of fuel, you would go 61 laps. There's Ryan Blaney right there as we're leading this 500 briefly, but we know how quickly these positions shuffle. Blaney would be right up to speed. He would actually have no problem and really wouldn't hold up anybody there, so he was just fine. So yeah, we have started the final stage with only 1 extra lap to make it to the end of the race is the situation. So we're going to have to pay attention to fuel. Now at this point in the race, I wasn't paying attention to that. I was thinking, oh, we're fine on fuel. I completely forgot about auto fuel, even though I've been using it for a while now. And I was unfortunately not thinking, like I said, and I was trying to lead the lanes because I was really confident in the ability in this NZXT number 98 Chevrolet Camaro. And when you, of course, are leading the lanes, you are the one punching the hole in the air when it comes to plate racing. And that is also a translation of I am burning a lot of fuel. So there was very few moments like this where I would get in line, but then you see this, I'm pulling out. And this one here was more of a test. I wanted to see how much of a slingshot I could get on the cars in front of me, just kind of testing for late in the race, depending on what's going to happen. But yeah, we're going to be probably close on field, but I'm certainly not the only one. There is other cars in this pack that are going to be close on field. It is kind of turning into a bit of a fuel mileage race here in this Daytona 500 in these closing laps here now. As you can see us again leading this third lane. I've got so much confidence in this third lane. Before last season, I didn't want to be leading lanes, but I've got so much confidence in this car and in this third top lane that I wanted to be leading at all costs and hope to have the push. Right now, the push coming from the rookie, the 54 of Ty Gibbs in that Monster Energy number 54 Toyota Camry right there. As we continue on, you got Ty Dillon up my inside, still 16 laps to go at this point, and at this point in the race, I hadn't even peeked at my fuel situation yet. It didn't even cross my mind. So you can see us still going back and forth and whatnot. Kyle Busch now going to the front. You got Corey LaJoy just behind myself. Justin Haley, my NASCAR Heat 5 teammate there. There's the 10, briefly, of Todd Gilliland as well. As you can see us now tucked in behind the 4 of Harvick. Nearly a big moment right there. As that's, I think, the third time we've nearly wrecked somebody by trying to push them. But we would get to the front of this lane again and then go back to the front of the actual race. It is impossible. It's quite simply impossible to stay up front, so you're just trying to time it to the best of your abilities. 7 laps to go in this Daytona 500 of 65 laps, and now I would get a message from my crew chief as it's very close quarters racing as we lose a bunch of momentum.
Gary, I need you to aggressively save on fuel.
I need you to aggressively save on fuel. You hear the message, and thanks to Coop for getting us those crew chief messages. So you're not going to hear AI crew chief in iRacing. That'll only be in Heat 5 there to the back of Jay Cook there. And that number 95 Mopar Dodge, we were getting radio that he might be a driver very close on field. Look at in the bottom right. There is 5 or 6 laps to go, and we have an estimated laps of 5.1 laps of field. So right now we're exiting turn 2. We are a little bit over half a lap short at this point in time. So now instead of focusing in on leading the line, I was focusing on getting behind cars in the draft and saving field. That unfortunately also meant I dropped back quite a few positions here now, but now I was just focused on field. Look at the stack up on the inside, so we're moving back forward, getting as much draft as I can, but also lifting as much as I can. But you want to be right up on the car in front of you. That allows you to save more fuel. There's more of a hole of air right there. So I'm on the back of the 41 of Priest, coming to 3 laps to go. Crunch time in this 500. My teammate a chance staying to the lead, but we know that won't last on the inside. It's going to be really, really close in the fuel situation here now in these closing moments of this Daytona 500. I don't like my chances to win this race. 2.8, 2.1 now laps of fuel as we approach 2 laps to go out of turn 4. We're getting a message that some drivers are coming into the pits here now as we head down this front straightaway. Chase Elliott, Jay Cook, Dodge, and Chevrolet, they can't make it to the end. They're pitting with 2 to go to play it safe, and now things are kicking off. 2 laps to go in this race, 1.8 laps of fuel, 1.7. So it is very, very close. I continue to try and lift and coast to see my throttle input on the bottom left of your screen. I am not full throttle, barely any at all anymore, and all the leading we did of the third lane is going to cost us a chance potentially to win the Daytona 500 and even have a chance there. My teammate Suarez not on the lead lap here, of course, in this main pack. He lost that draft. He's just hoping for chaos, hoping for a caution, although no overtime in iRacing AI. Unfortunately, I still don't know how they haven't added that, by the way, but we're headed to the final lap, and we get another message at the top of the screen. You can see it through the leaderboard. More cars pitting, including my teammate of Ross Chastain, maybe Eric Jones as well. We exit turn 4. It looks like we will make it to the final lap. No crashes here today. Gilliland's in, and Chastain is in as well. As we start the white flag, Ryan Preece leads the way as he is a one-time Cup Series winner at Bristol last season. In the playoffs, of course, didn't make the playoffs. Contact with Blaney into turn 1. Field is so close at this point as we head into the corner, and now the 2 of Cindric Autofield on the final lap. He's going to completely destroy the momentum of the middle lane, who can't go anywhere because they'll cause a big crash if they do. Kyle Busch trying to get around him. We continue on. Up at the front, the race is on for the win. Are we going to make it on field? Probably not. It's going to be close, and we know we can't win from here anyways at this point. Ryan Preece, Jimmy Johnson, side by side for the 500 win, but here comes Tyler Reddick with help from his alliance teammate of Christopher Bell, and it's Preece and Allmendinger on the inside, and it's going to be a drag race to the line. It looks like Preece fades backwards. Reddick to the lead. He drops down to the inside. I'm out of field in the back, and here comes Reddick and Bell, and it's going to be Christopher Bell winning the Daytona 500 right at the line. He is locked into the playoffs, and he wins the big, great American race as I'm cruising into turn 1, 17th place, out of field. Unfortunate, and I'll show you guys exactly where I ran out, and we're not going to make this auto fuel mistake again. Right here, out of turn 4, basically headed right to the pits. I ran out right there. I just pulled off the track. I didn't want to be in the way and potentially cause chaos there coming to the stripe. So Christopher Bell wins barely over Tyler Reddick right at the end of that race. What a day for Christopher Bell, picking up the Great American win here. Very big congrats to him. There's the two just sitting there stopped. He's been out of fuel. And here you have the finishing order there to see the complete order. So P17 for us, Ryan Blaney, Daniel Suarez, the two guys, of course, that had a rough start at Stage 3, losing the draft. They are, of course, at the bottom of the grid. The guys that pitted, Elliott, Gilliland, Cindric, who ran out of field, Chastain, Cook as well, all towards the bottom, as you can pause it if you want to take a closer look. That's going to wrap it up for us in race 1 of this second season. In the next one, it's Auto Club for what should be the final time of this career mode. So it's going to be a fun one. In the 2-mile circuit. We'll have to wait and see what happens out there in the West Coast swing in California. I'll see you guys then. Have a great day.